All right. So we're doing episode 3. Is it called an episode? Or what is it called when it's a podcast? Anyone?
Episode.
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 This would be episode 3 of the Punkdemic podcast. You know me. I'm Amazon. My co-host up there is Johnny Taylor, and today we're rolling with Nate from Winter Wolf NYC and a whole bunch of other stuff because he's just that fucking cool that he does all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And his beard's really nice. Yes, I said. And Johnny knows I compliment Johnny's beard all the time. I like them. What do you want me to do? Anyway, we'll touch on some of the things, Nate, that you're working on. Definitely want to. Well, you can't really talk too much about Punk Island as far as lineup, but just the fact that you're working on it, I figured you could bring it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And
all right.
you know, I'm gonna do the whole thing where I just make it all about you, because I don't like being. No. Anyway, so let me know. I guess we'll start with Winter Wolf and like how long you've been a part of that. What you do, what instrument you play.
All right. So I joined Winter Wolf in, I want to say, August of 2019. I was in a previous band before Winter Wolf and Maafa. I was in a previous band, and at the time, Jahil, the lead singer, was a drummer. So he had put out on Facebook an ad looking for a new drummer, and I figured, you know, I had some extra time. My former band wasn't doing too many shows, and I really wanted to, just get myself out there as a musician. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a try. And we had one practice session together. We had one show together, and I guess like the rest is history. I've been in Winter Wolf since then, and we've been touring together. We've been playing all kinds of shows together. We've recorded together, like, I've had plenty of just wonderful, wonderful moments playing, just sharing the stage with them, and it's always a blast.
Now, I see behind you leg drop. Let's talk about some leg drop. What's leg drop? Right.
So, Leg Drop Productions is a group booking agency with Jahil, the singer of Winter Wolf, and Rachel Francis, my friend of many, many years, who's basically like my sister at this point. Um, we came together, I want to say last year, because speaking of Punk Island, I joined Punk Island last year, and they were gonna group me. Well, me and Rachel were gonna work together either way, but they sort of grouped me and Rachel together, and I had started booking my own shows at the time,
Mhm.
but I didn't really feel like I had it all together to do it by myself. And Rachel, who has been booking way longer than me, I figured I could give her the extra help and I could learn more on the fly while I was with her. And we're both really big wrestling fans. So once the stars aligned, and adding Jay into the mix, who's also a wrestling fan, we all just brain just machine gun shot it together, and
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Uh oh. Uh oh. Got
What?
a we got a slight technical difficulty, but Nate, he'll be back with us in just a matter of moments, I'm sure.
Well, we can edit this little break out.
Yeah, we can definitely.
Nate just said wrestling 3 times. I am ready for you to jump on it. I know you heard the word wrestling, and that is like a trigger for you.
But I'm
um,
not gonna, I'm on my punkdemic behavior. I'm on my
no,
punkdemic
I
behavior.
want you to bring it. I told him that you're a wrestling fan. He's a
So, I,
wrestling fan.
I'm
Wrestling,
gonna
bring it
ask
up.
wrestling. I'm gonna ask wrestling related questions, but I'm gonna ask them with some moniker of
He's in a
respect or
punk.
reverence.
He's in a punk band. But if you're gonna act a fool, this would be the time. This
This
will
this
be the
there's no
time.
moment like this is the moment. This is the
Correct. You
time.
could cut up right now, and it would be nothing but appreciated. Shit. It must be his Wi-Fi. Hold on.
Mhm.
Okay. We can edit this out, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We can definitely edit this out.
But yeah, if it wasn't for Nate, I wouldn't have even got the link for Punk Island.
Oh,
Um,
shouts out to Nate for lining up Punk Island. Bigger shout out for representing that wrestling. All right, here he comes. He's coming back in right now. Oh, dude, my bag is leaking.
what is that? Oh, for your ice pack?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did not want to have happen. Was that?
Okay, get it together, team.
I'm trying. I'm
By
trying.
team, I mean you, because we are the team. Um,
Team Thicky.
okay, so you
Team
just
Team Thick Demic. He hasn't showed up anything. Let me see if I
we
can.
gotta work on Punkdemic. I'm gonna trademark that shit.
Hang on a second. Let me see if I
You
can
gonna
put
let
him
him
in.
in?
Hello.
All right, Nate. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
All right.
We can
So
hear you, but I don't see you.
no, it's okay. I'm trying to work on. I'm trying to fix my cam. You give me 1 second. But while I'm
Do
doing
what you
that,
gotta do. He can
yeah,
edit all the fuckery out, so
yeah.
you're good.
So while I'm doing that, so to continue where I was going with this, so long story short, I really wanted to help Rachel out, and I wanted to have more experience when it came down to booking. So we just came together with Jay, and we've just been just the Three Musketeers ever since, just putting shows all throughout New York, and it's been loads of fun.
There it is.
Yay!
All
Yeah,
right, back in the building.
yeah. So yeah, that's like drop.
Leg drop is one of my favorite maneuvers in the ring. I
Yeah,
consider myself the Hulk Hogan of hip hop, and
the Hulk
Hulk
Oh
Hogan
my
Hogan.
of hip hop. That is
If
lit. That
I'm
is
not
so.
mistaken, I do believe Hulk Hogan did utilize the leg drop at the conclusion of most of his matches.
I
Mhm.
see. I see.
See,
So
I
she
have.
she gave me the green light to nerd out and totally wrestle out.
No,
I want to
please,
wrestle out.
please, please. I
She
love
gave
I
me the
love
green
nerding
light.
out. I love nerding
Hey,
out. Please.
so so this is not going to become a wrestling podcast in totality, Amazon, but it's going to probably happen
Yes, it will.
a little bit.
Yes, it
Yeah,
will. Go ahead, Johnny. I mean,
dude, it's
you probably got
WrestleMania
somebody
season.
on
It's
It is
WrestleMania
WrestleMania season.
season.
To be
It
fair,
is
it
you
is.
got
WrestleMania season.
true.
So
Go ahead.
does Cody Rhodes complete the story? And by the way, these are predictions. I don't know the exact release date for this podcast, so I'm going to document it. This is March 3rd, 2024. So we are
Right.
still 50 some odd days away
Yeah, we're
before
still we're still
WrestleMania
early.
weekend.
We're still a bit early. So
Mhm.
I will say this. I've been a long time Cody Rhodes fan, even when he was a part of the dynasty with him, DiBiase and Randy.
Yeah.
So I would like for him to complete the story, but seeing how they're building up this bloodline, the whole thing, there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of hiccups, and it also depends on whether they're ready to actually take that title off of Roman. But that's just my opinion. That's solely my opinion.
Well, Roman is the tribal chief. There's no
Yeah,
question
he
about it.
is. He is a
He
tribal
is
chief.
he is a tribal chief. I really feel like they're trying to erase some of Hulk Hogan, his outside
Oh, absolutely.
behavior, his
Oh no,
outside
absolutely.
behavior and antics don't
No, oh
jive
no,
well for
yeah,
the.
they're trying to retcon as much of the golden age and the attitude era as much as possible, because half of the
Wow.
wrestlers that were in the golden age are in AEW, or you know or
Dead.
whatever, and then
Mm-hmm.
all one else in the attitude era are either like passed away or
Mm.
again at AEW. So they're just trying to like
AEW.
go complete, or TNA. They're trying to go like complete like scorched earth, just to start clean, and almost as if like they're trying to like do like a hard reset on just WWE in general.
Well, I would love to see Roman keep the title to break that Hogan record. I don't
Right.
believe that they'll be able to build a superstar again that's going to be able to hold a title that long and sell tickets the same way as Roman's been able to do it. And then fans aren't patient enough to sit through a storyline that long either. And so
You're
much
right.
of the story has
Yeah.
been around. It's been around now. But
No, you're
if
right.
Cody
You're right.
doesn't finish the story at WrestleMania, and he's had two shots at it at WrestleMania, and they got to get to September for Roman to break that record. I mean, I feel like a
Right.
Survivor Series title win would be very anticlimactic for one Cody Rhodes, but you win it how you win it. Did you hear the announcement last night for night one of WrestleMania?
I did, and I'm so okay. So I've been so sort
Just
of
bear with us,
plug
Amazon. Just bear with us.
just sort of plug, and this will be real quick. I know Amazon wants to talk about music. Um, I've been watching like a YouTube videos that do a lot of coverage on a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. So I knew that they were going to do it, but I'm very much like I want to see it to believe it, sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. So once I actually saw that they were doing it, I was like, oh, okay, that's. I mean, I
It'll
don't
be
really have much of an opinion on it. It's like, all right, well, you're gonna do it, so let's see what comes out of it. You know,
I think what'll end up happening is there'll be a historic trade off. Um,
right?
Roman will likely lose the title at WrestleMania, but he'll be the first superstar to have been involved in a double main event, to be the main event both nights of the event,
Right.
because that will be the case for him. So they'll let him walk away with that. The Rock, I
Yep.
believe, is going to look horrible in the ring. The
Yeah, because
Rock
he
will
hasn't
not look.
wrestled in God knows how long. So I think this was just their way of like creating a safety net for The Rock to see if he can still wrestle. Because there's still that proverbial Cody versus Rock match that may or may not happen. So I think this is just their way of seeing like, okay, is Rock feasible enough to to wrestle? And plus, we haven't seen The Rock do an actual tag team match in a while, so we'll see what happens. So,
Well,
all right,
he looked terrible in his last match against Cena, and
he
I
did,
really believe and he hurt himself. He legit
he
hurt
did,
himself.
they both hurt
He-
themselves. That I don't, I never talk about that WrestleMania. Like it,
yeah,
I I refuse to ever. I refuse to
acknowledge it.
acknowledge that it exists. Yeah,
That Hell in a Cell end of an era match, in my opinion, was the main event from that WrestleMania that
I
particular
agree.
year. That
I
was the
agree.
one that it was the show stealer. It stopped the show, stole the show, was the show. That was the
Yeah,
match. All right,
yeah.
and now I'm going to turn it over to you, Amazon.
I'm sorry. I was busy sleeping. I don't know
Uh,
what.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. It's the third of the
No. So
month.
since you're on the subject of wrestling, Nate, tell him about the last show you did with the wrestlers and all that. He
oh
wants
yeah.
to hear about that.
So okay. So I want to say what we're on the third. So on as I'm looking at my calendar. So the 23rd of February, we had a Valentine's Day themed showcase, and it featured live punk bands and wrestling. Shout out to T Wrestling Academy. It's run by Logan Black, who is a good friend of ours, who who opens up a wrestling school for students of black, queer, trans. Everyone can come in, learn some wrestling moves, and if you're looking to get in shape, it's a perfect
So
school. It's in Brooklyn. Um, what we always do with him is that he gives us his wrestling students, and we kind of utilize it as a way for them to kind of like break out and you go and perform the wrestling moves, but also interact with the crowd, work on their craft, you know, get the crowd engaged, because everyone that comes to our shows, they're all wrestling fans, but they're also music fans as well. And in me, ever since starting this booking group, discovering more and more how many wrestling fans actually are in this music scene. Because I'll go up to them and be like, hey, we're leg drop, we do this and that, and I'll bring up wrestling, and like their whole face just lights up, like,
Mhm.
what? And this will be like people that have been playing music for years. I'll just come up to them just regular, and I'll tell them, yeah, we do wrestling. It's like, yeah, we want to do it. Like the interest just peaks so much. So the show that we had was so much fun. It was at a spot called Purgatory in Brooklyn, and in Bushwick, or Ridgewood, Bushwick, and the turnout was amazing. It was a packed house. All the bands did great. My band, Winter Wolf, headlined. We also had Rat Bath that was coming from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. EV Echoes and the Locations, good friend of ours, came out and just
That's a cool name.
stole the show with me. Right. Um, Lolly Rot, a new up and coming band that started out, and we wanted to book a show with them. We wanted to book a show with them for a while, and Sangre, um, one of my favorite bands, newer bands to come out of this year. Yeah, it was such a great time.
So
Yeah, it's
are you
yeah,
are
good.
you playing while they're wrestling, or
No,
how
no,
does
no,
that work?
no, no. So how it works is that we would have bands play, and then while the band would be setting up for their next set, the next band would be setting up for the next set, the wrestling match would be happening.
Oh,
So
cool.
within that time frame, so normally bands get like what, like 10 minutes set up, like 10 minute changeover.
Mhm.
We use that changeover time to integrate, and we add the wrestling element. So that way, while the match is happening, the band is like setting up, and then the only thing that's really left is to just quick line check, and then ready to go. Um, we I don't want to say we perfected it, because of course in every form of practice it takes practice,
Mhm.
and we haven't been around that long, and we're learning as we go along. Like each show we learn, and we get better over time, and there's always room to learn and to grow and learn. um where was I? Oh, yeah. But we add the wrestling element into the setup, to the setup time, and then by the time the match is done, we make sure the crowd is still engaged, and we just bring them forward, and we just announce the band, and the band's just raring to go.
Johnny, do not get any
Well,
ideas. We are not. I repeat, we are not. We're not. We're not doing it.
I mean,
Yeah, I
hey,
can see
listen,
he's
well,
if
got
you
that.
so
if you're
so
ever
so what I
if you're
He's
ever
got
what I
in New
that
hear
York,
look
I'll just come through.
on his face. Like
so
he's think.
so what
Look,
I, so what I hear
That's
you saying, Amazon, is that this sounds like the right place for the great Thick Flair to make his wrestling debut on the
I
East
mean,
Coast.
listen,
Mhm.
if you ever
Dick
want to, like, if you
Flair.
ever
Did
want
you
to
hear
come,
that?
if you want to come to New York and check out one of our shows, like, please, by all means.
He
Yeah.
said the great Thick Flair. Did you
I
catch
heard
that
him.
name?
I
Mhm.
heard him. I
And then to
heard
Johnny,
come down to the
why?
ring escorted by a bunch of thick women,
him.
a bunch of plus size BBWs,
I think
pal,
I think someone
one on each
already kind of
arm.
beat. I think someone kind of already beat that to you. But hey, listen, one man's gimmick, right?
John. Well, he has a whole thing. Johnny has something called Team Thickies. Yes, I said it.
Ridiculous.
Team
Yes,
Thickies.
yes.
And
But that's
tell him
another
about your Team
conversation.
Thickies, Thick Flair. No,
It's
go
another
ahead.
conversation for another podcast. This is
No,
about
it's not.
Punkdemic vibe right here. This is not
It's
about
not.
plugging. This is
It's
not
not
about
now.
plugging team thickies. This is not about plugging it down for all of those plus size ladies out there and the fellas who represent them and who want to wear that attitude proudly so that the world can see. This is not that podcast to be telling people to swing over to teamthickies.com where they can get their official Team Thickies merchandise, or their Team Thickies hoodies, or their Team Thickies t-shirts, and their Team Thickies beanies and baseball caps. This is not the time to plug that. You know what I mean? It's not the time to tell people that if they sign up on the Team Thickies email list that they may be eligible to win a custom Team Thickie song all for themselves. This is not the time and the place for that. No.
Are
That
you
was
are you done? Are you done?
that was good.
You're done. Okay,
That
Nate,
was
I
Thanks,
swear,
Nate. I appreciate that, Nate.
that was good.
don't blame Nate. Don't blame Nate for that.
Don't
Don't
blame
blame me.
me.
I'm just like, I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I was just appreciating the appreciation. That was all.
Oh my god. But no, so you play obviously. Did you say that you were the drummer or you just said you played? You play
Yeah, so
drums.
I play. So I play drums. So I play drums in Winter Wolf, and I play percussion. I play djembe in a band called Ma'afa, which is fronted and founded by Flora Marena Lucchini. An amazing person, an amazing musician. I love both those bands. They both mean a lot to me as a musician and also, as a percussionist. Yeah, yeah.
So I was talking to a little bit earlier. I was talking to someone else who played drums and then bass
Yes.
here in the West or whatever. But she was saying that when she toured, she just noticed the difference between playing on the West and how the punk scene or shows were over in New York. I still haven't been, so I can't speak on it. But what do you feel like is the difference between like when you've played or ran into people maybe from here, from the West Coast or whatever? What's the
That's
difference
a
like
good.
in the shows or how they get down? Like what have you
Um,
noticed?
you know what? Because I've never been to California. Like, and most
Yeah.
of what I know about, I guess, the scene in California is like some of the bands that I listen to from Cali, mainly from like the Bay Area. So like bands like Tsunami,
Mhm.
Drain, I think Spies from the Bay Area too, but also like bands like Zulu also. So I can speak more so for the East Coast. It's very community based. Like everyone always tends to look out for each other in terms of like, their communities, but also there is also a form of camaraderie when it comes to booking as well. So everyone's looking out for each other, and for each community there's another one being built up. So yeah, I don't know. I think I gotta think more. I gotta think more about that. But from what I can tell you, um, it's very community based. Like everyone, you'll always find like a show going on, whether it be like at a venue or somewhere underground or at a park. We love our park shows, um, and we just make sure that even if it's like a small room or a small section of people, we just make sure everyone just has a good time.
How
So
did you find
besides,
your way into the punk scene?
but
Like, what was it? What was it that was like, yo, this is for me. This is it.
So my
I'm sorry, Amazon. I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, go ahead.
no, so
Go right ahead.
my very first show was, I want to say, back in like '09, I think. Probably I would say '09, because I was like 19 at the time, and I went to a show that was thrown by a friend of mine's who plays in the band, and it was in this one spot in Harlem called New Amsterdam. It was this art house space that was owned by this one black guy. And if you look up New Amsterdam, people use that space for religious purposes. They use it for art galleries, and it's all derived towards like African American history and everything like that. So I went to that show. I was invited, and I didn't really know any of the bands except for my friend's band who's headlining that night. There was a specific band that stood out to me, and it was a band called Zombie Fight. Now, this band had three members who stood out to me: Hillary, Anthony, and Lee. And I remember this night. I remember this night because um, they showed up to the show late, so their set kind of got cut short. And upstairs, because there was a house, there were people that lived upstairs. They were complaining about the noise. So every so often they would come down and they would tell them like, "Yo, you got to turn down, you got to turn down," to the point where like they couldn't really get through their set. But when they were getting to their set, everyone was moshing and dancing. Keeping in mind though that I was new to it all, like most of what I would listen to was like was whatever was on the internet or whatever was on TV, you know. So I didn't know like two step or anything like that. I just observed what everyone else was doing and picked it up from there. So when everything was going, I was moshing for the first time ever. Their set got cut short, and the guitarist got so mad and he just like left. Everyone just the band just left. And but I remember like they stood out so strongly to me, and what stood out even more was like the front man was a person of color, the guitarist was a person of color, and it was one of those rarest times I was just like, oh my god, like there's a group of people that look like me that's playing this kind of music. And ever since then, I remembered wanting to just go to another. I wanted to keep going to more shows like that, and then I ended up getting invited to another show out in Queens at this spot that was once called Arena,
Mhm.
and it was like all the way in like Elmhurst, Queens. So it was like far, far from where I live, and that's when I met some of the people that I'm still friends with till this day. And again, the show I went to, there were people that looked like me,
Mhm.
and but I still felt very sort of weird because even like in the crowd, like I was like one of the few people of color at these shows, and of course I was getting those looks like, oh, what is he doing here?
Mhm.
S- But I just kept to myself. I enjoyed myself, and then I made it a habit to keep going to all the like as soon as a flyer would come up, I would go right away. I made friends with some of the bands, which then led to me being a fan, which then led to me wanting to be a part of it. And fast forward, now I'm in two very like prolific bands in the scene, and now I'm like booking shows, and now I'm here. So yeah, that's the general story. It's like I would say like most of my experience was my curiosity and also but also like just stumbling into the scene and just haven't left or anything. I just became so intrigued that I wanted to, be a part of it.
No, I'm smiling because even though, I'm like a year older than you and everything, um, we have similar stories, and most of us do. When I say us, people of
Yeah, oh yeah.
color, about stumbling into like a show and just seeing somebody that just blows your mind, and you're like, holy shit, this is where I'm supposed to be, or this
Yeah.
is what I'm supposed to be doing, or
I,
this is where I
I
belong, so to speak.
yeah.
Um,
Actually, Amazon. Before you go any further,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt. One notable thing I want to mention, and it's funny because of the shirt I'm wearing. So going back to Zombie Fight, Hillary and the drummer Lee are play in this band called None Above All,
Oh,
which I've
cool.
now known them for like the most period of my life. And I'm
Oh,
always a
cool.
huge fan of them, and they're like my best friends at this point. And Anthony, the guitarist, he plays in Ma'afa. I Me and
Oh,
him have
cool.
played together for so long, and I remember bringing that story up to them, and we were all just having like this like I want to say like Disney Channel like moment because we're all like, you were at that show? Oh my god! Like we were all just like freaking out, and the guy who put the show together, me and him actually reunited. Like we reconnected, and he's been going to like all the leg drop shows, all the Winter Wolf
Aw, that's
shows,
cool.
and he just constantly tells me like how proud he is of me. So shout out to Anthony and everybody. But go ahead, Amazon. Sorry, I just wanted
No, I
to get
mean,
that out
you know where I was going with it. Like,
there.
I think we all have that experience where we're just like, holy shit, this is it. Like, this is it for me. Like, this is the thing. And I just think it's a trip how we all kind of have a similar story where we're at this place, what like you mentioned, and they're looking at you like, "What are you doing here?" You know. So I think stuff like what you guys are gonna do with Punk Island with that people of color, the POC stage, is so
Yeah,
cool, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. So actually, funny that you bring that up. So for leg drop, we're doing like the first ever, the just straight people of color stage, and it's the first time that's ever been done, and we've been really excited to do it. And the people that we have, I can't announce it. I can't announce it, but the people
I
that we
know.
have on the stage are people who are very just amazing at what they do, legends of the scene, and some just fan favorite. I'm excited. Like the lineup that Leg Drop has, like I'm really excited. I can't wait to announce
I can't wait till you can either. So I could be like, yay, but I can't. So I'll have to be patient, which is not my strong suit.
it.
JT, you have any more questions for Nate about anything? Because I know you're still learning about punk and what that is.
Yeah, I'm still learning about it. This is it's a it's a world class orientation and education for me because it's not a scene that I'm the most familiar with. Um, I know about Punkdemic. I know that it's a demic around the punk, baby. I know that much about it. Um, but I'm taking it in through all of these guests and just looking to find parallels for everyone else's experience with the scene and looking at what people of color are contributing to it. I think it's really amazing to see that
Yeah,
because we have generally been relegated to R&B and hip hop. We don't get a whole lot of shine in the space of rock music, though we're creators of it.
yeah,
We don't get a lot of shine in country, though we're creators of it. I think Hootie, Darius Rucker was like the only one that was accepted in modern history. They're not accepting Beyonce too well, and they didn't take too kind to Lil Nas X playing around with it either.
you're right.
So
Uh,
Right.
it's just very interesting and intriguing to hear about it. And one thing that I'm learning and seeing a lot is there seems to really be a strong sense of belonging, a prideful sense of belonging to this particular community. And it feels like people want to leave the community a better community than it was when they entered it,
Yeah,
looking at it long term. So I think that this is actually really, really good. A lot of
yeah,
camaraderie from what I've had a chance to see so far. I think that's actually
yeah.
really great.
Yeah, and honestly, going back to just leg drop, that's what we've always wanted to bring because, just like what, Amazon said, we share the same story, and even the people in leg drop, even the people in my band, all my bands, well, not my bands, but all the bands that I'm in, um, we all share similar stories of just entering the punk scene or metal scene or hardcore scene and having this form of like just ostracizing because we don't look like you know the people that normally attend those shows.
yep. No.
So
And
with this thing,
too.
I mean, my tag is hip hop organic, so I'm clearly with the hip hop culture, and I'm an industry kind of a guy too. With the punk
Yeah,
scene, I feel like so much of the economy comes with merch and live shows. Does you guys? What about you guys' genre? Where are you guys in terms of the way that you guys are releasing your product? Is it primarily through these live show events as well too? Are you guys like glued to your statistics on a Spotify or Apple like everybody else's genre is? You guys in your genre, is it
well, I
a
can't.
big part of release strategy? What's the
Right.
word?
Well, I can't speak for any how any of the other bands go about it. um I can only say that it really just depends on the band themselves
Mhm.
because I know there are bands that do it guerrilla style that just drop something and hope it just drop it in the ether and hope it goes somewhere. As far
Mhm.
as the bands that I know of and that I'm in are concerned, we tend to be very strategic with how we go about it. Um, we have friends that do PR work. We have friends that we always go to for advice. That like am I doing this the right way? And that's the one thing about our community is that we always tend to just go to the right set of people who've done it longer than us. That's why I'm grateful for the people that I still have in this scene who've been doing this way longer than I have. Like I'll literally pick up the phone and just be like, hey, I need some help with this, or hey, I need some advice on this. What should I do? Or sometimes they'll hit me up and be like, hey, I heard you doing this. Are you doing this right? Things like that. And if I mess up, they'll hit me up or they'll call me and be like, "Hey, I saw you doing this. Maybe don't do that." Things like that. Or I'll see them at shows, and whether if I'm playing or we're all just like chilling together, we'll just have like side conversations about like, all right, what's the right way of doing this, and that's one of the things like I said, that's one of the things I love about my community. So to answer your question, I will say that we tend to be very strategic with how we go about releasing, even though most of us aren't signed. We definitely go in the direction as if we're just like we just definitely go into the traditional DIY, wherein we you know do our own promotions, do our own reach outs to you know zines, create our own zines, things like that. And as far as like Spotify and things go, touring always helps. Playing live shows help. Um, Social media helps. Things that help get us across. That will get our music across.
Appreciate it. Thanks for those insights.
Mm.
No, I was thinking back in when I was younger last year. Um, Things like flyering and zines was like what kept the scene going. That's how we knew who was playing when. That's how we knew what issues were out there, what was going on in the different communities or whatever. Were the zines. And Johnny, are you familiar with zines?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember I made one when I was in high school. We had our own little thing that we did, and that's how we kind of found out um, what was going on. I remember when Food Not Bombs started
Yeah,
hitting
yeah.
the
I
scene
remember Food Not Bomb. Yeah,
originally when they first came out. I learned about them in a zine,
yeah.
and then went to a show and it was announced on the stage or whatever. So it is. It's super community based, which I've always loved. The only issue with the punk scene for me when I was younger was there was very few people of color in the scene. So it's like there was a community of punk, which was, then. And then within that community was a little tiny community of kids of
Right.
color that were into the scene as well. It was like the scene within the scene, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that makes
And
sense.
yeah, and so stuff like that, like the flyering, word of mouth, the zines, um, that's kind of what kept things going. What let us know what was going on, and even some of the social issues. Punk was always about taking on different social issues and social norms. So it's interesting to me that something like punk, which is supposed to be super anti, establishment, anti everything, still tried to put, the kids of color in their own little pigeonhole them, in their own little group and say, well, you're not supposed to be here. And I never agreed with that part of it. That's why I started Punkdemic. That's kind of why I'm the way I am. Is that I'm like, no, I'm supposed to fucking be here as much as you're supposed to fucking be here, and you're not going to tell me that I don't belong here. And then it went from there. And not only that, we're going to start a bunch of fucking bands, right? And those bands are going to be tight and they're going to be good. So I just Nate really like what you're doing. I really appreciate the fact that you're as involved as you are. I like to see people a little bit younger than me doing what you do, and the community I see over in New York. I'm super impressed by it. Like I can't wait to get over there and like jump in that mix.
Yeah,
Um,
and like you said, even with here in the East Coast, every you can probably ask like any person there, and they'll tell you the same thing. Like I wanted to do a band, I wanted to start a band because I wanted to make the music that I wanted to make, or I wanted to see more of me, you know,
yeah,
there. And
yeah,
now that you have bands like Rebelmatic, like Ma'afa, like Winterwolf, like 1865, like Lily Rod, like Lake Lanier, Foul Pride, like so many bands now that are fronted or has people of color in them is becoming more and more and is become gradually more inclusive to the point where it can't be ignored anymore. You
Mm.
know, and it's funny too because I last night I went to a show, um, see a friend of mine's, and we were talking about just how beautiful this scene has grown into becoming what was once like this sort of gatekeepy, like keep all these people away sort of thing, and now it's like all is welcome as long as you're not a weirdo.
right.
Like everyone's just like everyone's protecting themselves, protecting their scenes, protecting their communities, and I think that's important. And going back to leg drop, our main goal is to create spaces that are safe but also fun. Because if you go to like our IG page, um, all of our shows are nothing but like smiling faces, and we've had people that have never been to punk shows before come to our shows, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is such a great experience," you know. And yeah, and even same thing with Winter Wolf, same thing, with Maafa is really just creating spaces that are meant for people that look like us, but also creating spaces that are safe. That's really all it's been about.
I love that you touch on the fact that they're safe spaces. Again, putting it back on me back in the day, like, man, I got into so many hairy situations and predicaments and everything by just being me and being what they would say at the wrong place at the wrong time. But I felt like I had the right to be there just as much as anybody else. And I'm tall. I rolled around with a shaved head and suspenders and boots and all this shit back in the day. I don't know. I woke up one day and just shaved it all off. Okay, this is what I'm doing today. I There was no way for me to blend in, none. Um, and so I was always a target at these shows. If there was any, in Cali, we had the whole Nazi punk movement thing go on here.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
We had Nazi skins here. We had all that shit. And they would notice me. Like, there's no way to miss me in a crowd, period. And so I was got in these predicaments where, I'm like, oh man, like, we're going to have to fight. We're going to have to fight our way out of this show. I didn't do anything but just be me. And the thing is, from the town that I'm from, it's predominantly a white town. So they didn't realize that I was there. Like half the people there, they knew me, and we were friends. So they would come at me, and then I would turn around, and I was like, "Where'd they go?" Like, and they'd be on the ground getting beat. You know what I mean? For coming at me or whatever, and not realizing that those are my. I don't look like them, but those are my friends. Like I know the bands here. I know I know everybody here. These are my friends. Cause I don't look like them, right? So that's been quite a few times where I was like, oh shit, like, what? Why is that guy like? What's happening? And it was just based on the fact that I looked like I didn't quote unquote belong in certain spaces, and so I think that the fact that you are emphasizing them being safe is super, super, super dope. It's important,
But you
and
know what though? It's experience like that that encourages us to do what we do. You know,
Mhm.
yeah,
it's taking that and saying, okay, we're not going back to that. Like we're not doing that. Like
exactly.
because I take pride in me being the youngest out of most of the people that I know in this scene. So I always take pride in that. But I also take precedence of like the privilege that I have of knowing people who, like I said, been in the scene longer than I have. Knowing people that were in the Afropunk documentary, knowing people that have toured with bands that I literally looked up to for
Right.
years. Getting,
Right.
before I even went to a show, just
Right.
knowing that they had that experience of actually knowing them when I was at home watching it on a TV screen or on YouTube or whatever. And,
Right.
I was always asking questions like, what was this like? What was your experience with this? Like things like that. Because I, my main, my main goal is just to learn as much as possible and just put every bit of lessons I've been given and put it forward, you know.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
also
think
having the yeah, sorry, and just last thing. And
no. Go ahead.
also having the people that I have in my life that have always been steering me in the right direction and telling me, okay, this is what you do, this is what you shouldn't do, and not taking it for granted. You know?
No, I was just gonna say again. I think it's great what you're doing. That's why, like I was telling you before, when I saw what you were doing, I hit you up like, "Hey, what is this?" I remember going, "What is this Punk Island thing? What are we doing here? Like,
Yeah.
what?" And then the more you told me about it, the more I was like, "Oh man, like we got to figure out how to get out there, be a part, or support, or whatever." Because it's just so cool what you're doing. So in that respect, just keep up the good work. Keep
Thank you.
stuff like this going. Keep working at it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then your band's fucking Winter Wolf is the shit too. I like that. I am now
Thank
a
you.
Winter Wolf fan. You know what I mean? I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to go see them play in person or whatever.
Well, I mean,
So
we've never played in Cali before, so we're always
I'm
willing
working
to like
on it.
we're
I'm working
always
on it.
honored to come down there and just come because we played down south, which was a lot of fun. We played mainly in the East Coast, but we're definitely going to be like branching out further west and further south soon.
Yeah, I'm working on that and just trying to figure out like how that would look. As far as just how you guys would get out here.
I mean, plane
How many of you
by
guys were gonna?
plane.
Hitchhike.
We're gonna have to fly there. We're gonna have to hitchhike or something. Take a
Yeah,
bus.
exactly. Like just what that would look like. But I'm already I just had a previous guest on the podcast, and we were talking about just different venues. She's a person of color as well in a punk band called Badass. She's pretty dope.
Mm, yeah.
She
Okay.
was a drummer, and now she plays the bass.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, and so we were talking about that, just like what venue would be good for something like the stage you're doing at Punk Island. I want to do a whole show similar to that. So it's I'm putting it together. My brain is braining. You know what I mean? I'm plotting and planning. But I want it to be a good experience for everybody that would be traveling over here. I don't want it to be like this horror story, like, oh, we went to Cali, stepped on a fucking, stepped on a mailbox. It was horrible. So I want to make sure that if you guys do come out with the Punkdemic name on it anyway, or my name associated with it, that it's a good experience for everybody. And like, so it's something I would like to do. I want to see you guys out here. Maybe send some bands from out here over there. Maybe you can get your leg drop on with some of the folks over here.
I mean,
Something like that
oh yeah. I
is
mean,
something I would like to.
we've sort of talked about like wanting to take our booking on the road. So I mean, yeah,
It's something we could do. Yeah, we could do like a
yeah,
collab or something and just start.
yeah.
But just keep that community, that sense of community going. It's important. It's necessary. It's necessary in our community to have things like this. Period. Um, Unfortunately, when I say we, people of color have always had to come together to fight for whatever it is we do. It's never been like, I'm gonna get up today and start a band, no, we've always had to fight for our spot, so to speak, in
Yeah,
every
always.
single thing we do. And the only way that's possible is by everybody working together. So, the logo, not the logo, is that a logo slogan? A slogan sounds so cheesy, but if you go on the Punkdemic site, it says "refuse to be put in a box."
Yeah.
And that was my thinking when I started it, because they used to be like, you're not black enough, Amazon, you light skinned it, you're part white, and so you can't do this over here, and you're too black to be over here, and you need to go. And I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I started speaking about myself in the fucking third person, like a comic character, and was like, Amazon goes where she wants to go. You know who I'm imitating, right? Um, I'll do what the fuck I want to do, right? And I'm Amazon, and I'm gonna do what I want, and I'm gonna do it the way I want with who I want to do it, and that's where my persona came from, because I got tired of being told what the fuck I can't do. So I was like, watch me, watch me. And you guys have this same attitude, like, watch what we're gonna do in the community, watch what we're gonna do
Yeah.
as a
But
band.
yeah,
Um,
but
yeah,
everything we do is a labor of love and just celebrating the beauty of the New York music scene. Not even just so much like the punk scene or hardcore scene or anything. It's just celebrating the scene itself, because
yeah.
there are a lot of great people who are coming out of it. You know, people have done great things, and we're just continuing. We're just keeping that going and hoping that the next generation takes up the mantle and keeps it going as well. And if it dies with us, then hopefully our history gets told, you know, honestly and truthfully.
Well,
So go ahead,
it's good
Johnny.
that we want. It's good that we're gonna make sure that we're doing things presently to make history look the right way. What kind of historic things do you have coming up in the immediate future that you can talk about, and how can people connect with you, and how can folks come in? Where can folks come see you doing your thing with some of the bands that you're with? It's time to plug
So
away.
right now, awesome. So right now, as Amazon mentioned, Punk Island, we announced the date is going to be on June 8th on Randall's Island. It's going to be like an open field park. There's no stage. There's going to be like 6 tents that are going to include like 6 different bands from each different organizer, and of course, Leg Drop being one of the organizers, as I mentioned, is going to be purely POC, people of color. That's all I can tell you right now. Um, as far as what I can announce, Widow Wolf is working on our debut album. We don't have a date yet, but as time goes and as we get a little bit closer to completion, we'll have that announced as soon as possible. Um, as speaking, continuing with Winter Wolf, we have some shows coming up on April 12th and 13th, as we're going to be in Virginia and DC. And other tour dates and other show dates will be announced later. Maafa, we have a show on March 23rd. It's for James Spooner's book called Black Punk Now. It's a show showcasing his amazing book, which I have actually. If you give me a minute. Sorry about that. So, this book, Black Punk Now, written by James Spooner. It's an amazing book. It telegraphs all of Black Punk history, and some of my friends are in this book. They're telling their stories as well. We have a show on March 23rd, which features Lake Lanier, Shoot the Five, Rebelmatic, Diseased, Ache, who is doing their 10-year anniversary, Maafa, my man Maafa, Diseased, and also Zulu's going to be headlining that show. So it's going to be insane. It's going to be an insane show. Leg Drop, our next show is going to be on March 29th, which is Rachel, my partner in crime. Her birthday show is going to be at a venue in Brooklyn called Our Wicked Lady. It's her 29th birthday. Her 28th birthday show, and it's featuring our friends in the metal community and Solemn Visions, who is one of our cherished friends in the scene, longtime friends. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can say right now. I can confirm right now.
So like an action-packed calendar, folks. Don't miss out.
Yeah.
How can folks connect with you in the internet space?
So you can reach out to me through my Instagram. I'm also on my Facebook. All my handlers on my IG, which is I actually have to look that up now because I don't remember my own.
Well, there's
That's
Winter Wolf.
embarrassing.
Winter Wolf page.
But
I know
yeah,
I just dropped the drop over at Leg Drop.
Yeah. So
There's
you can
a
follow,
Leg Drop page.
you can just follow Leg Drop. It's Leg Drop Productions on Facebook and IG. Winter Wolf, it's Winter Wolf NYC on all social platforms. Maafa Hardcore on all social platforms.
I want to get them on here, Nate. Put a word in for me, please, and tell her how wonderful I am and how much you love me, and she can't do without coming on here and talking to me. Okay, I would love to meet her on here.
Of course, and shout out Nicole. Shout out Nicole. That's my friend for a long time.
Yeah, Nicole.
Yeah, and just shout out everyone in the New York music scene. Everyone in the tribe, everybody.
All right, well, yo, this feels like a really good place to put a button on this one, a nice little bow. Tie this one up and call it a day. But before we get out of here, we got to do our notorious calls for actions. Make sure you guys swing by punkdemic.net, punkdemic.net. That's punkdemic.net. Don't forget punkdemic.net to go get your hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts. Go ahead and get your coffee mug, tumbler. Get yourself a baby bib so we can get that next generation of people. Let me go ahead. I'm a big screen out one. Pick up the Black Punk Now book. It's available wherever books are sold and available. Make sure you pick that one up as well. That one's not in any way associated with punkdemic.net, but we all about spreading the love and getting the word out. Look, folks, that's an actual book with pages in it. You know what I'm saying? With words. So go ahead and immerse yourself a little further into the culture, if you will. That's pretty much all we got for today. Thank you, Nate, for coming through and hanging out with us. We appreciate you spending part of your day with us. With all of the millions of other places that you could have been today, we appreciate you spending your time with us at Punkdemic.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
All right. So remember, we're not gonna hang up or log out or whatever it is you do, and let the vocals upload. And JT, turn us off.